Hello good people and welcome back to Level Up Your ELO. Today, we'll look at a vintage game by this Filipino-American super GM and how at only 13 years old and at only a rating of 2411, he was already an absolute beast. It's none other than, you guessed it, Grandmaster Wesley. So, let's see if we can pick up some key ideas from this game. Let's boost our ELO.
Round 1. Fight!
So this game took place in Bad Wiese, Germany in 2006. Wesley So is only 13 years old and only rated 2411. His opponent is Michael Prusikin, rated 2560. Oh, before we begin, before I forget, if you do like this content, find it tolerable, and it's helping your rating just a little bit with the analysis, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. Wesley plays with the white pieces and Michael Prusikin plays with the black. Let's get started. White starts with e4, e6 by the opponent, e6, the pre-French defense, or if not the French defense, d4 by Wesley, taking the center, principled stuff, d5, taking that square and maintaining tension. This is all theory. Knight to c3 by Wesley, which is the Poulsen variation. Knight to f6, inviting the pawn to be pushed, also defending d5 there. And now we have bishop to g5 defending, or rather attacking the knight there and developing the first rank. Bishop to e7, e5. Now closing the center, attacking the knight. Takes and takes. Now both the dark squared bishop have been removed. Wesley plays the f4 variation. Here a6, trying to expand here on that side. Knight to f3 by Wesley, b6. Queen to d2, just allowing the queen to go to the second rank, freeing up the first rank, and now c5. Maximum tension in the middle of the board, typical of the French defense pawn structures. And here Wesley plays knight to d1 with the idea of wanting to support this pawn with the push on c3, of course. And here castle king by black, completing his development, c3, maintaining this triangle pawn chain as Wesley would like to. And the opponent tries to break the pawn chain. The thing about in chess, whenever you move a pawn, you attack a square, but you also create a weakness. And the opponent's idea is to open up the position just a little bit. Wesley does not take. Just plays bishop to d3, a developing move, just adding the bishop into the fray, increasing its scope. It's also a developing move. Now a5 by the opponent. Castle king by Wesley, bishop to a6, trying to remove one of white's, if not white's, most active piece. Wesley doesn't take. Instead, opens the position, reducing the tension, takes here. Now, black is asked the question, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to take here? Maybe potentially attack on the g file. But with Wesley taking, the idea here now becomes that this pawn is not protected by another pawn, so not only is the e-file open, this pawn is actually black's weakness. And there's another set of weaknesses by black. It's the fact that these two pieces have not been developed yet. So it's a little lag in development for black, and this pawn is weak. So let's have a look at that. In the position, black took with queen takes on f6, and here Wesley doesn't take still. He adds more tension by adding a new layer of threat. Knight to g5. And if you could see, immediately the h7 pawn is attacked. And as we also talked about, this pawn, which from the result of the push on f6, is a target. So the opponent played g6. And you may be wondering, okay, this is a constant threat. Why not just take here? It's because young Wesley is positionally thought of this being a weakness, and hence after bishop takes on d3 takes, you have queen to f5, say, preventing the checkmate, because that'd be embarrassing, takes, you correct this weakness, but after knight to e6, you got rook to f7, And then now this knight gets to meander and harass the very open queenside with knight to c7, and then hits on here. So you can't defend your center pawn. Your rook is all funny. It gets to shuffle here. The rook gets to shuffle around because if we go back to knight to b5, if you go here, these two pieces are forked. So that's bad. Let's not have that happen. But anyways, after the rook gets deposited into a6, now you have a knight nagging this pawn, and you can't effectively defend it because both your knights are tripping over each other. So if you say play knight to f6, well then this falls. And you now have two knights dancing on the middle of the board where your rooks are awkward and everywhere, all over the place. So the opponent had a look. It's a 25-60 opponent, and instead after the g5 move there, just tries to stop with g6. But then Wesley at 13 could see the dynamics of the position and played knight to e3, a developing move connecting the rooks. But as you'll see, Wesley's absolutely sharp. h5, which is questionable now by the opponent. Know how we were looking at this as a weakness. If you push a pawn, again, you're also creating another weakness in your position. You're attacking and preventing this idea, of course, with g4. This pawn is now weak. So Wesley plays rook a to e8 calmly. I don't know how calmly, but as you can tell, he's transferring all the forces to the king side, and the opponent's rook is still sad. It's a sad rook. Now finally takes on a d3, bishop takes, queen to d3. But mind you, this is a weakness. And now the white queen is eyeing and looking into g6. C takes d. And here Wesley uncorks the absolutely monstrously brilliant knight sacrifice on e6. Just opening this up, forcing the queen. Okay, you want to take? But this is on prise. What are you going to do? The opponent took. That's brilliancy number 1. And here Wesley plays knight takes on d5. Brilliancy number 2. What happens if you take? As we talked about, g6 is weak. So if you take here, you get checked with tempo. And because all your pieces are on this quadrant, there is a mate threat. It's so hard to stop. So you sacrifice your rook, and after that you still can't stop it. You have to sacrifice your queen, and the game is over. So after this second sacrifice, Kasparov style, queen to f7 was played. But guess what? Wesley plays rook to e7. Supported, of course, asking black, do you want to take that and see what happens? You saw a while ago that the sacrifice was sound and deadly. And if you take, we go back to square one, or rather we go back to a whopping checkmate. Queen takes, and that's mate. And that's just insane. Triple brilliancy. So the opponent was like, okay, I've had enough. Let's just do a queen trade. But of course, Wesley is not interested in diluting the position. You have a rook on the 7th rank. What do? Well, Wesley plays queen takes on d4. Powerful move. Yeah, and then now knight to f6, blocking this, hoping to maybe recoup and develop other pieces. But Wesley doesn't let up. Hits the queen with rook to e5. And now again targeting this pawn. Just targeting it again. Takes. And Wesley tries to make a point at why his sacrifices are sound and why the king is quite defenseless on that side of the board. Queen takes on g6. It looks like there's adequate defense. To see that sad rook? Well, you'll see how it won't even join the fray. Queen to e6 check. Attacking. Queen defends on f7, and here Wesley plays the super aggressive and dynamic but positional queen to h6. Covering this. This is coming. This is going to be en prise soon, but the idea is to complete destruction of the king side with attacks. And the thing is, you have to, if you make a rook move here, check here is deadly because you have no squares to exit, and you lose the queen and a checkmate. So queen to f6, queen to queen again. Obviously, Wesley has calculated all this and refuses to queen trade. Rook to g5, and then a check, and the king gets moved into the center of the board. Really sad. Now takes with the finish of rook to e1 would check, and you may be wondering, what's the finish here? Well, the finish is if you try to attack the queen, simply check, and after check, this is covered, queen here, and yeah, powerful checkmate. And all the other variations pretty much loses, because after takes here, the opponent resigned, actually. You could try queen to e7, but the thing is, your king is really weak. This position's lost. Just pin there. So yeah, wow, powerful game by Wesley. For you dynamic, non-positional fans. Quick recap, guys. e4, e6. d4, d5, the French defense. Knight to c3, knight to f6, and Wesley plays the bishop to g5, a variation. Bishop 2, e5, takes, and now f4. e6, knight to f3, b6, queen to d2. c5, attacking, and the center from the side, maximum tension. Knight to d1, rerouting. And now the triangle is complete. f6. Again, the idea that this becomes a weakness. Castle king, bishop 2, takes. Creating weaknesses by attacking two weaknesses at the same time, more or less. g6, knight 2. Again, so many lines. When you push a pawn, you create another weakness. If that depending on how fatal that weakness is in this position, it is. Because now, with all the lines I drew, all 5 billion of them, maximum activity. The second thing, attacking the weaknesses and then piling up on the side of the weakness, aka the king, by adding maximum activity. And that's what Wesley did. Takes. Sacrificing the knight. Sacrificing the other knight. Again, begging the knight to be sacrificed. No queen trade. Threatening checkmate in 1. Hitting the queen. Attacking the weakness. Check. 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 Or rather, positional monstrosity. Check. And now the king gets escorted out to the checkmate zone, execution style. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a crazy game by 13-year-old Wesley. He's still a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Hope you got something out of that. Double peace.